Hi, this is Liam from Spew. The podcast you're about to listen to contains bad language, so if that ain't your thing, you might as well just stop now. Thanks, and enjoy.
You're chum, bitch.
Jurassic Shark.
Hello, and welcome to Spew Extra. This is going to be an extra episode, obviously, given the title, and it's just basically going to be us. By us, I mean me and Temmy here. How you doing, Temmy?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Basically, we're going to be talking about a cinema classic that I can't believe we haven't watched until now, called Jurassic Shark, which is available on Amazon Prime. There are, of course, other ways to watch films, but that is one of them. Anyway, Tammy, do you want to give us a rundown of what Jurassic Shark, the cinema classic, is, and what it's about?
I don't know if I can. I don't know how to start that question.
I mean, if you could give us a synopsis, how would you frame it?
There's a shark in a seemingly endless lake that appears to be no longer than 6 foot wide, and that shark eats people, and it's apparently a megalodon. And then
Apparently, yeah.
they kill it, but there's more.
Oh,
So
tell you what, that's
that's as much as I get out of it.
now. If I was having to do a synopsis for my course, I'd probably say something like a log note of when scientists drill too deep after being warned not to, a megalodon is released into a lake to terrorize people who stole a painting. Like what?
Yeah.
But we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
This is just endless nonsense. The whole thing. Yeah, where do you start, right?
I mean, let's start with the very beginning. Now,
Or can
this the very beginning when it came to was it the titles that were on for about 9 hours first, or did they just get straight into the film? I can't even remember.
not the opening scene was two very very suspiciously blonde pretty girls who
Okay.
were standing on a beach. One of which, and I had to bring this up because it was the first thing when I noticed that made me realise, shit, I got to be taking notes for this because this is horrific. There's that one of the girls is holding a paddle, and for no reason is that explained.
When you said they were holding a paddle, I genuinely went back and watched it and went, "Why the hell has she got a?
Yeah,
They don't even have a boat.
yeah.
What,
No, no,
what is this?"
they're literally just to enjoy the sun on what appears to be the stoniest beach I've ever seen.
Well, that's the paddle alluded to something that I have a note for. Let's see, a quarter of the way down into my notes, where I put waiting for the porn storyline to kick in,
Yes.
because the, the amount of scantily clad women for no apparent reason. I don't mean they, like, oh, dress however they want. I mean, there was just moments in the film where they just zoomed in on boobs
Yes.
and ass, and then that beginning bit where the two girls, weirdest opening ever, were next to the water and went, let's just get undressed, or whatever the line was. I can't remember. I don't think this film had a script. That they took their clothes off, and then it was slow motion of them taking their clothes off. I think it was slow motion.
It was. That was the moment. That was very late on in the film when they just decided that they were going to have to bite the bullet and go and get the painting. But this
Oh, right, it was. Yeah, yeah.
started exactly as you said in the opening 5 minutes of the film, and those very two same girls, one of which was holding a paddle for what I can only imagine is sexual gratification. Um, they started stripping only to sit down and sunbathe, and that stripping process lasted way too long with no music in the background, nothing.
Yeah, it was an unusual one. Started to think that maybe that they added that directorially as a choice to get people to just keep watching the film. They thought, you know what, this film is going to be absolutely terrible, so let's make sure we give people a good show. But like,
You know, the
is this?
more I watched of this, like the
Yeah.
more and more I thought, hold on, is this just some frat boy on spring break who just wanted an excuse just to look at people undressing?
No, no, trust me, this is important to the storyline. Like, I, I, I don't know if this is one of those films, kind of like Sharknado and all that sort of stuff, where they're making it intentionally bad so that people will go, "It's so bad, you've got to see it."
I think
Or
giving it way too much credit.
do you reckon that I'm thinking it's too self-aware?
No, I think they're just really bad at what they're doing. Really bad at what they're doing.
And on that note, we'll get to the opening bit of dialogue. I say the opening, okay, so the opening bit with the dialogue happens, okay?
Mhm.
Um, dialogue. I'm using that term very loosely here.
Well, are we still at the two girls? Because I'm still.
Yeah, yeah,
I've not
yeah, yeah.
seen them yet.
Yeah, so the two girls are talking, and then one of them's like, "I don't want to go in the water," and she's like, "Why?" And she's like, "You'll laugh. I'm scared of sharks." And she's like, you're such a nerd." And then they get into the water and start splashing each other. I'm not kidding. I timed this. It was about 30 odd seconds of just splashing each other.
Long, right? Uncomfortably long.
Right, and yeah, exactly. They were just sitting going like he
Can I
for
just
literally 30 seconds.
how many times does that girl on the left, speaking to the girl who's afraid of the water for sharks, call her a spaz? I mean,
I mean, easily 3 or 4.
yeah, I mean that's not exactly PC. I mean that's a risque thing to do in any.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2012, man. You know, it was a different generation. It was a different time.
Well, here, if we're going to get onto the whole "it was made in 2012" thing, if you had to guess when this film was produced, based only on having watched it, no other facts, when would you say you'd think it was produced?
I'd say like early 2000s when people were properly starting to get like, I'd say like 2002, 2003 when people were like still using mini DV to record on cameras, so they weren't quite using SD cards.
Man, I had 1992 written. Kidding you? I mean, bearing in mind that I was 7 years old at that point and had started watching films, even this looked dated to me at that point.
Oh, it was, yeah.
It
S-
just looked so rough. Like,
it wasn't great.
I don't think they
Like
had color graders, did they? They just had an editor.
they just auto white balanced it and went, "That'll do."
Yeah.
But some of the scenes were out of focus,
Yep.
which I thought was an interesting artistic choice.
I
Um,
wouldn't call it that, but
I mean, that's what we've been taught now, of course, is that, hey, if someone says the last shot's a bit weird, just say, yeah, it was an artistic choice,
that's
Um,
fine. But then that's also why we're calling ourselves critiques of this film. Is that
well,
we turn around and go, "Well, that was shit."
yeah, basically. I mean, back to the plot, if you can call it that.
Hmm.
So after these two girls splash each other for 400 hours,
Yep.
um, they basically one of them gets attacked by a shark. Which, by the way, when the shark, the sorry, the not shark, the megalodon,
Yeah.
when the megalodon attacks these people, it always makes the same crunching noise every time it kills someone, like the same sound effect over and over again.
Sounds like an Acme tune.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
yeah. Can I? So at that point, you see your first glimpse of the shark, don't you? From its underbelly, or is that later on? Am I thinking that's afterwards? I don't think you do see any sign of the shark until about. Yeah, am I right in saying it's about 15 minutes in we actually see any sign of the existence of a shark?
I'd say it's about. Actually, you might be right. I think about 8 minutes.
We don't see it with the two girls, do we?
No, we don't see it with the two girls. We just see a a shot of a camera underwater going through some weird seaweeds style stuff, which is very clearly like 17 inches of water at most.
Yep.
And that's what the megalodon is meant to be. I mean,
Oh, good. Here's another point, by the way. See the point where they get attacked. They're in at the most 2.5 feet of water, right? It's waist height.
yeah,
Yeah, fair to say. Pretty
yeah, yeah, yeah.
on camera, right? When the girl disappears after supposedly being eaten by the shark, she is now treading water looking for her friend on her back. How? Like my arse would be hitting the ground, and at that point, I certainly wouldn't be treading water trying to figure out where my friend had gone. Like, I just
No,
don't get it.
through the magic of filmmaking, they've
But
deceived you.
a 16-meter shark, and you can't see it in 2.5 feet of water. I mean, you'd fucking hear it coming, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would hear that shit thrashing about. It's the most bizarre thing ever. So moving on from that, we have a how long was it? Was it about 3-4 minutes
Yeah,
opening credits or something?
4.5, I think. 4.5 in total.
I skipped through, not because I was like, do you know what, I'm not getting any story here, but just through sheer just like awe at how long the opening credits were. And it wasn't like it was some creative credits where it was moving through like the water and going through shark teeth and then, blah blah blah. It was literally just a shot locked off on a tripod looking at the water on the edge of a beach.
It
Um
changed for 4.5 minutes. And like just to
yeah,
put that into perspective, after 1.5 minutes, I realized like there's a common knowledge of the sequence of opening credits, and like you can tell based on who's being mentioned and what their role is as to how far along the kind of circuit of that you are, right?
yeah,
Music and editing comes just before the director at the very end. So if you're still on the characters and the main characters, sorry, not the kind of tiny cameo characters, then you've got a fair bit of time on your hands. So after a minute and a half, I already had an indication of I'll just go make a cup of coffee. And I had time to do that before it finished. It's just staggering.
I mean, if anything, we should be thanking them. They gave us a courtesy break to make sure that people had time to go get some drinks or whatever they needed, some light refreshments, so that they could
Yeah,
make their way through this movie without having to go into a coma.
after
Um,
the breathtaking opening sequence.
the breathtaking. I mean, it was astonishing. Speaking of astonishing, what happens next is, I mean, we'll come back and forwards and all that sort of stuff, but some fantastic dialogue between some guy who's the director of some company
Yeah, there's
and
no,
a doctor, a scientist of some sort. They
yeah,
never mention what their titles are. They just, you know,
there's no character development of any description for any character in this film. None
yeah,
whatsoever. The only one you've really got to follow is possibly the protagonist and possibly the art thieves. And even
yeah.
then, there's no real history behind them. They're just there and they happen to have stolen some art and they happen to be filming for another reason, which we'll get onto later on.
It's, I mean, it's astonishing, and the thing is, a thing I got like that I read, not I read that I saw in a TED talk. I think it was from the guy who'd done the animation for some Pixar movies or something. I can't remember who it was. I'm probably butchering this, but they basically got the advice: make me care, like make me care about your character, make me care about your story. And the only thing that I can think of that the director went for was, if I show enough boobs, the guys are only going to want the girls to keep living so that they can keep seeing boobs. I I actively wanted them all to be eaten by sharks, like all of them,
Yeah,
every single one of them.
I think if nothing else, it would have just been better viewing. Like, and then, like, I'll ask you this question later on when we get onto the CGI effects of this film. Did that change your mind?
Oh dear lord! I mean,
Can we go back to the two dudes that are so the director of the company and
yeah,
the
yeah. So
the guy who plays the scientist is what appears to be a prolific B movie role actor. Been in loads, and his name is Jurgen Vollrath, which is a hell of a name.
I mean, we all wish we had goddamn as cool a cooler name as that, and B as along a list of B-roll sort of not B-roll, B movie sort of cameos.
Yeah,
Did you say the director, not the guy, not the scientist, the director? Yeah,
I,
director of the company. Yeah,
the scientist is called Jurgen Vollrath in real life.
right.
His scientist name in the film is oh god, what is it? It's Lincoln Grant. So
Oh
I mean,
man.
I would have been given him his own name because that's cool as fuck. They've gone for Lincoln Grant, which is about as US as you can get.
President Lincoln and President, I guess, Grant is there a president?
Shut up. Yeah, I don't know my president.
No, But I mean, so yeah, they have this exchange where he's like, "We want to go ahead with the experiment," and he's like, "You've got my approval." And then the guy fist pumps.
Yes. Oh
Um,
god, that was one of my favourite bits in the film. It's the cheesiest kneel to your knee, like fist in your face. Yes, and it's so deliberate that you can tell that that was probably like the 50th take of that, where they've gone, "Fuck it, that'll do."
like they got the lines right on that one. That'll do. Yep.
Yeah,
So moving on from that, he go. Is it just after that that the woman scientist? I say woman scientist because I don't even think they say what her name is. They probably did. I did not catch
yeah.
it.
It all gets a bit hazy from here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was like a weird fever dream.
Yeah.
They go down the stairs. I think after this. At least I'm pretty sure.
Just
Is it at
sorry, a fever dream is the best way of explaining what this film is. A fever dream, that's genius.
Jurassic Shark, the fever dream of cinema?
Yeah, 1,000 times yes.
So hang on. So is this the bit where we see the antagonists in the story? There's sorry, the shark is sorry, the megalodon's meant to be the antagonist, but not really because it's just
I think he's just there for cameo, isn't he? He's just
yeah.
he's in the title, so he's got to make an appearance at moments.
I'd see him in his trailer, but
Well, he'd fit according to this.
oh, yeah. Oh my god, it's 52 inches long.
Yeah,
Are you sure? It's
we'll get on the maths of this later on, but it's pretty.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
It's
it,
was the next bit the bit with the car and the villains who'd stole the painting.
yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, the
All right.
very very stereotypically dressed cat thieves in black with their black jeans.
Yeah. And they're all like for some reason like yeah, just cat burglars. I
Yeah,
was like, what the
like we
hell is
don't,
going on here?
don't even think we hear about the painting for the first kind of 30 seconds. They just deliberate about getting out of the car and getting on with it, or like a good couple of minutes. Just get on with it.
Yeah, they were like, oh, and then this, and then this bit of exposition. It was like, Jesus Christ.
One of my favourite lines in the film as well. Don't worry about my brother. He's just a bit slow. Which I love.
Oh,
Just the big goon guy, which if anybody was to take that character and put it into perspective of a film you've probably seen, if you take what's his name, the guy who plays the Mountain in Game of Thrones, he's in uh,
the Icelandic actor.
no,
Oh,
sorry,
you mean the Hound? The Hound.
he's in Hot Fuzz. He's a British actor, the Hound.
Oh yeah, he's Scottish. Yeah, he's Scottish. Yeah. What's
Yeah,
his name? Rory something.
yeah, the guy that goes Yorp.
Yeah.
This is the only way to explain what this guy has tried to encapsulate when putting this character into Jurassic Shark. He is a bit slow, but for some reason later on, we'll discuss it later on, but he turns out to be the most intelligent character in the whole film. It's brilliant. That's the twist. The dumbest looking character is by far and away the most intelligent man in this film.
Is that the bald guy?
Yes, the big muscle bound bald guy.
Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Two things. First of all,
Guy.
I called him Vin Petrol instead of Vin Diesel because he looked like some sort of Poundland knockoff of him.
Yep.
Although he was far more jacked than Vin Diesel is. So maybe I should call him Vin Super Unleaded. I don't know.
Well, it's pretty obvious he spent more time on jacking than he did on acting.
I mean, there was plenty of jacking going on in this movie. Christ, everyone had their tits out. Yeah, so I want to go back to what you said about character development or lack thereof. You say that, but they set up this villain woman with a great bit of dialogue between them, and it was like, "Did you see what happened back there? She put the gun in the cop's mouth and
Yeah.
pulled the trigger." And I was like, "This woman's badass! Holy shit!"
I had that as well. I saw that and went, that's dark. Is this gonna escalate and like get really dark really quickly? Because obviously my immediate assumptions when I see the title of Jurassic Shark are a lot of blood and gore. Um,
Hmm.
I saw that I mean, I assumed that the first death, which is the two girls in the lake at the beginning, and one of them disappears, and there's no trace, no blood, even though she's calling out her name for about 30 minutes. There's no trace of it whatsoever. I assumed that they're going for the Jaws-esque start, where it kind of just eases you in with a bit of suspense and mystery.
Mm.
But yeah, and then they move on to that, and you hear that she's a real cold-blooded killer, probably even worse than the shark itself. But then that's about the most evil thing that happens in the rest of the film.
Yeah, because they're all like, she blew a cut. I thought it was going to go full Reservoir Dogs, and it was going to be, like someone cutting someone's ear off by the end of the film. Um,
That is
but it just didn't go that way.
new.
Um, so there is a little moment, and I want to give this film a little bit of praise because I think whoever was doing the camera work was a film student who was like, I need to express myself as a a camera operator. And as an aspiring camera operator myself, I have an eye for seeing moments when people have excelled at certain things.
Right.
There's a shot where the younger people, after we'll go back to what the villains were doing, but
Well,
when the younger people in fact, no, it was the villains. So the villains show up, they've stolen the painting, they've got it in the boot, they get out, and he's all like, "Don't let her hear you, she'll kill us too."
yeah.
And it's like, right. And then it goes to this shot from the other side of this fence that's there, wherever there is,
Yeah.
and the camera's looking through it. And as they're coming towards the camera, the characters are perfectly framed in this little chain link fence. And I looked at that and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to give that a little tick. I even gave it a little tick on my notes just then.
Well done.
Good on yous. That was a good shot.
I missed all of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, apart from that, let's get back to how absolutely god awful this film is.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Cool. So after the villains have showed up and had their whole exposition of we stolen a painting and we're bringing it to this island for
Yeah,
some reason.
there's no transition, by the way, from the point where you find out that they've taken this painting out of the back of this car.
Mm,
Suddenly they appear on a boat,
yeah.
which I still don't understand how it was moving.
Yeah.
There's nobody rowing, and there's no engine sound. And then
Yeah.
they point at a place and go, "That's where we're going. That island." Okay, but there's no setup for like the geography of this film at all because it's all based
Yeah.
in one place. It would have been incredibly easy to go and take some wide pans of like a big scenic shot of the lake or something with just an island in the middle of it of some description, or even just a basic shot of some of the buildings that they're referring to as the headquarters for this science building that they go to later on. There's nothing. So you have no idea where the fuck these people are.
Exactly. Oh, hang on. Before that, when the kids show up, yeah. Um, right. I must be getting the timeline messed up in my head. I'm pretty sure there's a moment at the beginning when the two girls are talking, everything's fine. That's what it was. Everything was fine. Then it goes before the girls get like taken by this megalodon. It goes to the scientist and the governor or whoever it is, the director. He gets to go ahead for the experiment. Then suddenly he's walking down the stairs. This woman's like, "We can't keep digging. We don't know what's down there."
Right,
And he's sort of like, "We're gonna keep digging." And then there's an explosion.
that's right. We've missed the most important part of this film, really, haven't we?
Exactly how the megalodon is released. So, I mean, God help me. I don't think anyone would give a shit. But there's an explosion, and immediately after he says, "We're gonna keep digging," there's an explosion. Then immediately after that, he's like, "We dug too deep."
I,
You're like,
Obviously, before
"What?"
that, I'm pretty sure when they're having the discussion about the woman obviously doesn't want this to happen yet because she can't guarantee that it's safe, and the guy,
Yeah,
it's too late. We've got to do this now. I'm pretty sure there's the point where she says, "We don't even know if we're going to dig too deep," and he goes, "It doesn't matter." And then
yeah.
years later, there's a big explosion, like you say, and yeah, one of the best lines in the film again. We've dug too deep.
Yeah. And like they've just shook the camera and they're pretending like Star Trek or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the girls thing happens, and that's how the shark was released. But yeah, then you get to where was it? Okay, so the villains are out on the boat rowing for some reason.
They're definitely not rowing, but yeah, I'll give you the fact that
I,
aesthetically they're supposed to be. Yeah,
I think Vin Petrol was the one rowing with one oar, by the way, not
yeah.
two.
Even if it was, then he was going around in fucking circles.
Yeah. I mean, he would have had two oars if the woman at the beginning hadn't have stolen one of his oars for the boat.
It's all coming together now. See, I missed.
There you go. Do you reckon they were going to meet those two girls? Those were the buyers.
I sincerely hope not.
that would be a plot hole and a half.
Well, I mean, uh, I just class them as two very deliberately cast blonde bimbos.
Yeah, I mean,
There's no
that's
way
that's
they were
probably being kind to it.
no
Um,
bias.
okay, so the brother of one of the villains falls out of the boat because something touches it,
Mr.
like
Shark, his brother, is the man.
Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry.
Um, the bit where he gets knocked out the boat, their reactions are absolutely priceless.
Yes, it's definitely a moment where you can tell they've not just like done a bit of dialogue. They've stopped and cut and gone, right, this is the moment where you gasp. And they just press record and go, action. And they've got to go, aye.
Yeah. Ah, okay, cut. That'll do. Like they didn't leave any.
Oh, no. He's,
They didn't leave any breathing space so that they could like edit it. They were just like, ah, fuck, that'll do.
yeah, yeah. Again, the deliberateness of the acting is priceless. It's so obvious.
Let's move on to Mike, who is a man we should all be jealous of because he died early on and didn't have to experience how horrific these humans were that he was dealing with.
Uh-huh.
Mike was the unrequited, not unrequited love, I wouldn't say, but he's doing stuff because he's in love with our protagonist, if you will, the girl who's there to dig up the secrets behind the company who's digging there.
Right. So,
Like,
yeah, one really important thing to note that you just mentioned there, the protagonist. We've been
mhm.
looking for nearly half an hour now, and in the film, it's probably about the same length of time before we get introduced to what can only be described as the protagonist of the whole movie.
Yeah, she just waltzes in like, sorry, I'm late. The film was terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've come here to uncover this terrible. What does she call it? She classes it kind of a this diabolical scheme by this oil rigging company that are
Yeah,
digging for oil, and nobody's questioned them over it or something. And
and she's doing a story or something for
yeah,
college or
get me into my scholarship. Brilliant. Okay.
yeah, you're like, right. And she just shows up and she's like, I've got to do a story. And then Mike, who's there with two other girls, and she's there with two other girls, and they're all like, "We don't care that you're here to write a paper." And it's like, why the hell are you there then? Like, fucking the worst friends ever. And she's like, "Can we have a hand?" She makes a point of saying to the girls that she's with, like 5 times, "Can I have a hand carrying all of this equipment?" Meanwhile, Mike is holding all of the equipment.
He's already got it.
Yeah, she's sitting there going, "Do you want to help us?" And it's like, us. Mike's doing all the work here
Yep.
because you've got him whipped and in the friend zone.
Yeah.
And they're going like, "Oh, that's surprising that he liked me." Really, come on, like. But so, anyways, like she makes a point of it 5 times, and then when they walk off, she's like, "Let's go." Mike is still carrying all of the equipment.
I mean,
Like,
guy really needs his hole, right?
I fucking he was willing. Jesus Christ.
Mike is definitely one of my favorite characters in this. He's only in it
Yeah,
for like
yeah. He definitely has the best acting of all of them. Like
has
Christ.
one line. No, no, he doesn't. I beg to fucking differ on that one. But like, I mean, he might be a naturally good actor that nobody's ever really discovered yet, and will never from this point onwards. But like, he has one line, which I think is "Don't worry, I've got it" or something about carrying all that gear, and that's it. That's all he says for what seems to be the longest period where they're doing this kind of scene between going from bringing the equipment from that car to going to their boat. He says one thing and that's it. But he definitely the kind of pretty boy of the film, isn't he? And he they kill him off
Yeah.
fucking quickly, which owes back to an earlier point you made.
I mean, it's saddening. I think the best acting is him because he only had one line, therefore he didn't have too much awful dialogue to say.
Yeah,
So words to bad ratio, he was definitely way ahead with his one line.
yeah, I'd agree.
Um,
Yeah.
so they get on a boat and they start. I don't even think they're rowing. What?
No, no, no. I'm going to stop you right there. Mike is rowing like a champ. And this is
Right.
another reason why I think he's my favourite character. He's rowing far too quickly for those oars to be in the water. He's literally powering away, and they're going nowhere.
It's like maybe I should put them in the water.
Yeah,
So
or just fucking slow it down aesthetically and we're fine. Like, as long as I can see that you're rowing, you don't have to show me that you're rowing quicker than a speedboat. Like,
she's like, can we get there quicker? And he's just like fucking blowing, like putting his head in the water and blowing really quick air out of his mouth.
yeah, the only thing that is missing is the kind of the girl's hair blowing in the wind to show how quickly he's rowing, because that looks how quickly he's rowing, you know?
They probably would have just had Mike go and just like
Yeah.
blowing into their faces.
Well, his head is turned an awful lot in this scene.
Wow, this is true. So Mike, the boat gets hit. Mike fall. They all fall out.
No,
Like,
sorry, we got to go before that. I'm sorry, Liam. I've got to stop you. Before they fall out, the boat gets knocked. Um,
yeah,
it's it looks like a nudge, right? It looks like something which is like, oh, that was a bit of a wobble. Oh no, what's going on? But they all go into panic mode. Now, first of all, if a 16-meter megalodon hit a boat like that, what was he doing? Because I mean, that would be him kind of, you know, when a dog comes up to you and just gives you a wee nuzzle, or a cat comes up and gives you a wee nuzzle, right? That's what
yeah.
it seems like happened to this boat. If a megalodon did that, it would take the fucking thing out of the water, clean
I
it.
was say, yeah, because like sharks nibble and nudge against things when they're like trying to work out what something is, or if they're like sort of interested in what something is in the water.
I'm fine with that.
They'll
But
they'll toy with it. Yeah,
15 meter
but
long shark,
if it would have yeeted them like 20 miles across the water.
absolutely.
I and they went, whoa, hey, what a weird turn of events. They fall into the water. They,
Well,
I, d-
before they do that, Jill turns to them all and goes, "Go quickly!" And this is my favourite bit of the film, hands down. Mike starts rowing slower than he was before, but has his head turned away from the camera, almost like an owl, directly backwards. But you can just make out on the side, on the profile of his face, that his mouth is clearly pissing himself laughing. So something's happened at that moment where he's like, fuck this is awful, and he can't control himself. And it's absolutely brilliant. The guy's just ending himself.
he's just like, oh god.
Yeah, I can't.
And then when they were editing, they were like, oh, he was laughing. It was like, I know, but we've already used all the $52 that we had for our budget for this film.
Yeah.
Like, there's no chance we can go back and refilm that shot.
Well, luckily, I think he realised that, and that's why he isn't looking at the camera. And I think it's just my kind of keen eye for a moron that's kind of spotted it. But
You should be an editor.
there was no edit in that bit, I can tell you. Um, but yeah, then you're right. Then the point happens where they get knocked out.
So they get knocked into the water. Something I can't even remember what happens at this point, but they end up on the island after one of them gets attacked or something, and you don't know what's going on. And then they look, yeah. uh, Just to backtrack slightly here, I say to backtrack. They, the protagonist, wakes up on the beach. I say the beach, whatever this bit of island is,
Yeah, yeah,
and goes, what's happened? And then, like, everyone appears like it's Scooby Doo.
yeah.
And then they're like, what the hell's going on? They're like, oh, there's a case. It's a camera case. They lift it up and there's a leg underneath there. And rest in peace, buddy. It was Mike's leg. But I thought later on he would come back into it. Spoiler alert, he did not.
I mean,
Um,
those kind of revelations are possibly why you should have directed this and not the actual director.
well, I mean, I'll hit them up and see if I can maybe remake it.
A skeptic to believe that though, because we now have 3 people dead, so that it could be the leg of any one of those 3 people. So
Exactly.
you can expect
Exactly.
it could be, yeah.
Yeah. So they start they start shouting Mike about 472,000 times,
Yeah.
and they sound like the seagulls from Finding Nemo. They're like Mike, 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 and you're like, holy hell! I hope Mike is dead, because if he isn't, I'll kill him for not answering.
But the
Uh,
other side of that as well is the deliberateness that they're looking away from the camera. So, in
yeah.
those kind of scenes, in any normal film, you look past the camera, but you don't turn 90 degrees away from the camera screaming, Mike. It's boring. Mike! He could be anywhere. Mike! He's clearly in the fucking lake because that's where you left him.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're on this tiny patch of land. Oh, right, yeah, the water. The water's probably where he is. Um, we'll try and skip through in different bits here, because it's going to get becoming like a 4-hour episode here. But
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite lines in the whole thing. Now, Vin Petrol, at this point, is annoyed because his brother has been killed.
Yep.
Um,
Understand.
as you would, understandably, he's quite upset.
Yep.
And then they keep saying that thing is such and such, and he says that thing is a megalodon, and it was
So I made this point
oh,
earlier on, right? He is the only person in this whole film, bar the scientist, who knows what the fuck's going on. And because he's classed as the dumb guy, everybody's like, shut the fuck up.
which he kind of in a way represents the audience, if you will, because you know,
Fuck.
it's, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, yeah, whatever, yeah, yeah, we know that's stupid, whatever, yeah, shut
Yeah.
up, like the whole time.
I was definitely dumb enough to watch this, so you're right. I mean, I can't really.
Do you think there was a bit where they were walking for about 10 hours through the forest, and they held those shots, they held those pans
With again,
of
no music.
no music,
No,
just literally a panning shot from right to left of them just walking slow as hell. By the way, like I'm not the fastest walker in the world, but my god,
well, what's her face? Tia has somehow either broken or twisted her ankle when she's come out of the water, so she's hobbling along. Um, uh, Make note that that hobble disappears very fucking quickly. So she's either able to regenerate at a rate that we are unheard of, or she's really bad at fucking acting. I'll leave you to decide.
I'm gonna go with she just needed to walk it off.
Yeah,
I cannot for a second defend her lack of acting.
she didn't just walk.
Uh,
She started running at full pelt.
yeah. I've put here in my notes 4 minutes of walking through the woods.
Fuck,
So
was it?
I don't know if I was exaggerating there, but to be honest, I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back and probably say it was right.
Yeah, I lost
Um,
track of time and space.
there was a great bit where they camp for the night, and
Yeah.
she's like, "It's gonna be dark soon," and it is blaring sun, and you're like,
Yep.
"Jesus Christ, how fast is that sun gonna go down?" I think you might wanna,
Yeah. Yep. They also
yeah,
they fall asleep semi-naked, so bikini tops and tight shorts. They wake
yeah.
up with clothes on.
Vin Petrol was just sitting there, just flexing his muscles. He must have been like on the pre-workout the entire movie.
Well, hold on. So I need to skip slightly, and I suppose it's probably pretty poignant that we kind of crack it moving slightly. But there's a moment where, in the dark, and they're all sleeping, that Bart
Oh, it's gonna,
is chatting to Tina, not
yeah,
Jess, Jill, whatever her fucking name is, Jill, and they open up with Jill saying to Barb, "From a woman to a woman, thanks," and she
yeah, yeah.
don't know,
This I was,
and she
yeah,
goes, "Yeah, you do." And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you mean. Fucking explain it. Was she talking about one of the guys wanting to rape them in their sleep? Because that's the only thing I could have thought about. That's what they were discussing.
it had to be, because just before that bit, there's a shot where it keeps looking up and down, like 3 shots of looking up and down the protagonist's body, and she's like in a bikini,
Yeah,
and goes back to Vin Petrol,
Yeah,
and he's just looking up and down her body, and it keeps
right,
doing this shot for about 5 minutes.
right.
I think that's why they were saying, yeah, yeah, basically, thanks from one girl to another, and she's like, yeah, whatever, and you're like,
Yeah.
Jesus
Do you know the
Christ,
whole directorial thing of trusting your audience?
yeah.
There's limits to that. Because if you're going to insinuate rape, just be blunt about it because it's a fucking big discussion tip. Like,
I was going to say they peppered in a bit of a really serious sort of moment there, and you were just like, all right, I don't think this is. I don't think you read the room, you know.
yeah,
Like there's a great moment in
you
was
know,
it Wild Hogs with John Travolta? Um,
is that the next
what?
one you're watching?
No, 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 I absolutely love that. It's a great film. That's not a great film, but I loved it.
Yeah.
But there's a moment in that where they're in a biker bar, and I think it's Martin Lawrence is like says to William H. Macy, he's like, "Does anybody else get a bit of a pre-rape vibe?" And then like one of the bikers tilts his head in and goes, "I do," and you just like, holy shit!
Fucking hell.
But it works. It works in like the context of what's happening. In this, it's just some weird,
Yeah.
bald, muscle dude who's like staring at some passed out naked woman, half naked woman, and then later on, the woman's like. It's okay. You can stop pretending to be asleep now. I can hear your breathing changed. And it's like, what? What is she? Special forces? Is she a doctor?
I mean, contrary to popular beliefs, this isn't a comedy. This is supposed to be a horror film.
Yeah,
And to bring that in is real dark, real dark.
exactly. Holy hell. There is a bit where they're walking for 10 hours through the woods, like actual runtime 10 hours. And
Yeah.
they start talking about Mike, and she's like, Mike liked you. And it's like, well, that's fucking neither here nor there now because he's
Yeah.
dead.
It's a little late.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go fish his dick out the water, and and you know what? Like, what do you want me to do here?
But then,
What's the crack?
like, I think what they're trying to do there is um, bond the two girls because, as we later discover, they are the two sole survivors. So, given the fact at the beginning of the film, she was like, "I'm just here for the sun, baby. I'm gonna give it to you." Then
I
they've got to bond somehow, and I think that was the very feeble, tepid attempt to do it.
You say that the two survivors, the one she's talking to, her sister and her are the sole survivors because
Ah,
she's like, "When if anything happens to me, look after Tia,"
that's right.
and you're like,
My bad.
and you're like, oh,
Because Tia's
ah,
the rogue. Yeah.
yeah, Tia's the one who keeps getting the slow mo shots the most, probably because she has the biggest acting ability of all of them.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a bit where they find the buildings. They finally find this building, and it looks abandoned as hell.
Yep.
And that's where the scientists were meant to have been before.
No
Uh,
shot. So if they'd done that at the beginning before the scientists spoke, we'd have a very clear indication that that's where they were.
exactly. It's very confusing as to where they are. They run into the building, and then one of the characters screams, and you're like, "Whoa, what's happened? Who she found? She found like the lab where they've been growing the megalodon, or
Yep.
like the proof of blood." Suddenly, it goes to outside
Yes. Yes. Yep. Continue.
where they find um
Jurgen.
Tia is screaming and she's like, ah, and they're like, what is it? And it's like, he's dead. And then he's like, no, I'm fine, and just covered in blood, immediately gets up and he's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
You're like,
Oh, it's just his lab coat.
what?
What?
That whole sequence was so confusing. It was like, ah, from inside the building, they run out, they run to see what it was. They're outside, she's screaming on the beach,
Yeah.
and you're like, not a building in sight.
No.
So I don't know what happened there,
Like
if there was some weird
you say,
continuity.
like he looks like he should be. Where did these injuries come from? Was it
Yeah,
that explosion?
is it the other woman
Right.
that was with him? That woman?
Well, I mean, see that. I mean, she made a very, very kind of wry attempt to stop him on the stairs, but I didn't think she was that violent.
No, she just straight up exploded right next to him. We dug too deep. Just exploded right next to him.
Lab coat was, painted with crayon red.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It did
Oh,
feel like
oh,
blood.
and at this point, for some mad reason, the villains have had guns on them,
Yep.
pull out their guns, and then they turn around and go, "Yeah, I should have known. I shouldn't have trusted your story." And you're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!"
Sheer lack of surprise, isn't it?
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, whatever. They had guns. Who cares?"
Oh,
Where, like, why did they decide at that exact point to
yep.
like
Yeah.
suddenly pull the guns out?
There's no build up. All you hear very early on in this is that, like, the moment where you mentioned they're looking through the fence and seeing these girls and going, right, just play it cool, do as I've told you. There's a prearranged plan that lasts for fucking the duration of 2 days that we don't know about, and then suddenly it comes to fruition at this moment.
Yeah, they're like, "Now's a good time to pull the guns. Now that there's a scientist here?" Question mark.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, there's too many people now. Okay.
Shit! If they realize we have guns, we're screwed. No, wait, you have the guns. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the culmination of that, and then they go on their quest to go and get the painting back, right? Because that's what this whole film is really about.
yeah, yeah. So apparently, there's a painting that they stole and they're trying to sell to someone. So they get the scientist to go into the water, and they're like, "We'll shoot you," and he's like, "I'm dead either way." And then they're like, "We'll shoot one of them," and he's like, "Oh, they're just children," and then walks in and just gets eaten.
Save the children.
You're like, "Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah. I'll do it.
I'll do it." Dead. Cool. Moving on. And then
Jorgen.
they're like, "Where did the girls go?" And the girls have run off into the forest, and they catch them so easily.
Whoa, 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 whoa! You've missed Jurgen's death,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, I'm saying Jurgen got like fucking chomped.
but this is the first time we actually see the megalodon.
Is this the actual? Oh, this is the first time we actually physically see him.
Everything else has been silhouettes of what looked to be a catfish in the water because it's only about 2 feet long. And this is the first time where you see, again, apparently this is a 16-meter long beast. We see a head that looks about 3 meters wide, which is the worst computer graphics I've ever seen come up and just punch him out of the water. I mean, if anything, it's like key and classic to a B movie. But I mean, this is spectacularly shit. Totally.
It, I thought it was next level, to be quite honest with you, but you know, each to their own.
Next level to what? What's the level below?
I hadn't prepared for you pushing back on that one. I'll
Next
be
level
quite
to
honest with
this
you.
is me with a camcorder in the bath with a toy shark going "Rawr!" That's as bad as it can get.
Mate, I'd watch that, to be honest with you. I mean, that's, that sounds like a pretty decent documentary.
Hide my massive dog.
So anyway, moving on from the massive dong, they run into the woods, and then oh my god, I can't believe I didn't write this in my notes. But there's a bit where
It's all right, you
they're in.
bud. That's a start.
It's I know I was gonna fucking check this, but they're in the forest, and then the guy's like got a gun on one of them,
Yeah,
the Tia, and then he gets hit in the back of the head with a stick,
Vin,
and then the gut by Vin Petrol, yeah.
Vin Petrol's the one that's got the gun.
Vin Petrol's got the gun, and he's about to shoot Tia, and then someone hits him in the back of the sorry, the protagonist hits him in the back of the head with a stick.
So, yep.
He goes down, and then Tia is suddenly with them, like even though she's just been a mile away with a gun pointed at her,
And the broken ankle.
and the broken ankle, yeah, which is magically fine now. And then they run off, and then the guy's like, "Get up, man! We gotta get these girls, you know, blah blah blah, or we won't get the painting." And he's like, "Okay," and he's like, "I'm sorry, your brother's dead." And then they
Yeah, yeah.
they run,
Come on, people.
yeah, they run off. And then the most bizarre part of this film, and this is what got me, was nothing was more bizarre to me than this part of the film. There is a 4-5 minute section that's in slow motion,
Yeah,
not like occasionally, not like 300, you know, when they've got spears and they're about to fight, and then every moment there's a thrust of a spear or a slash of a sword. There's like a slow motion, like a room, like a Zack Snyder thing.
this is.
The entire sequence of 4 minutes is slow motion, and it's him, it's him chasing them down the beach, throwing one into the like 2 inches of water, and she's like, "Oh, I'm stuck here." And you're like, "What?"
Yep. I like
And then
it was. Carry on. You go, 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 go.
yeah, no, no, sorry. Then they like he's he's like he's pushed one of them over, before he did that, and then he's throwing two of them about in the water for a while. Then Tia's sister, the one who says, "If anything happens to me, make sure my sister's okay." Nice little bit of foreshadowing there.
Yep.
She gets eaten by the shark.
Yep.
Tia and sorry, the woman who got thrown to the ground is just sitting on the beach watching all of this, crying.
Yep.
She's meant to be the protagonist, by the way.
Yep.
And then the sister Tia's like, "Oh, we're safe," and you're just like, "What?" And Vin Petrol's like, "Oh yeah, kicked ass there," and you're like, "What? What did anything of that actually achieve?"
It,
Uh,
again, it seems to me that they sat down before they. Well, in fact, I'm not even sure they did sit down before they made this. I think they just went out and went go. But
yeah,
I,
film.
I kind of feel like they just sat down and made a list of techniques. Like we've got to use this, we've got to use that, and we've got to use this, and that, and that, and that. Made a list of like 20 techniques. They're like, yeah, we'll put that in there because that'll look cool. But they didn't put it in purposely to add anything to the film. They're just like, fuck, we forgot to use a slow motion bit. Just put it in there, that'll do.
Yeah, we shot it in 60 frames a second. It's fine.
Yeah, but then they cut it instead of like they cut it to like 190 frames, so it's just this like, jarring fucking slow mo. It's really hard to watch 'cause it fucks with your eyes.
They keep zooming in on like the water-covered boobs, and you're like,
Yeah,
"All right, okay." One of the best lines in the whole thing was "Your chum, bitch." I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
yep.
Just to go back slightly, I've put in my notes here. This must have been just before the slow mo shots was like, the sh- we need a sacrifice for the shark, and I was like, when did this turn into like
And a cult film.
in a cult film? He's like, the shark must be sacrificed too, and you're just like, all right, okay, we need bloods of virgins, and you're just like, Christ in heaven, all right,
With them around there.
yeah, good luck, boy. Um, yeah, your chum bitch happens, and then in the next thing in my notes I've got is crunch noises because it just sounds like it's
Yep. Yeah,
the same sound effect over and over again.
yeah, we've had it before. We will hear it again. But yeah, it's just it's the first time you get a real proper long glimpse of the shark because they, if I remember correctly, this is the death where you see a chomp and then they just loop the chomp for 4 or 5 times. So
Yeah,
it's
it's like,
the same chomp, and then you can see it glitch back to the beginning of the sequence of that animation, and then it just starts chomping again, glitches back, and just starts chomping again, just so they can say, "Yeah, he's now been on the screen long enough for us to merit the title of this film." That's all.
fucking hell. It literally, this is my best impression I can do of it. This is literally what it sounds like to anyone who wants to watch this film. God help you. This is what it sounds like. It sounds like this over and over again.
Yep.
Just, just that.
Even that, the quality of that sound there, the way it sounds like you've actually stepped out of the room to make that sound. That's what it sounds like in the film.
I did actually step out of the room. I just shouted that across the hall.
Yeah.
So
So
uh, we come to the climax just after this, where they're making them go in to get the painting, which we all know is impossible at this point, surely, right?
yep,
Like, it's not happening. Every time they even like sneeze or fart near the water, the shark's like, "Way!"
yep,
So they're like, "Get in the water, bitches!" And you're just like, "What the fuck is going on?" They've got the guns on them,
yeah.
and I think there was a bit where she had the gun pointed at her, and she's like, um, she's like pointing the gun at her, and she says something to the effect of, "It's between the shark and you, and I'm more scared of it like than I am of you, bitch." And she's like, "Excuse me," and then oh shit, we've nearly I nearly omitted Vin Petrol's role in this whole thing.
Yeah,
When they're getting them to go into the water, Vin Petrol's throwing dynamite sticks to distract it. Like,
Christ, yeah. But no,
you called him the smartest person out of all of them, which is telling by how he dies,
yeah.
which is he goes to throw a stick of dynamite.
But,
he
but before you even get to that, right? These girls are swimming very slowly out into the water for, let's say, a longer time than anyone else has survived, and they're somehow in the water. And if I, another classic line from Barb, if my calculations are correct, So she's a fucking genius, apparently, by sight. It's 300 feet out. They got thrown out of a boat. They have no idea where the fuck they got thrown out of, but somehow when they get back to land, she knows it's 300 feet out. So they're assumedly 300 feet out. And it's at that point they come up with a brilliant fucking hatched plan to overthrow these thieves. That
Yeah, but
That's when he dies.
you're talking about the woman who can tell if you're sleeping or not by how you're breathing. Like this woman is next level special forces. Let's be honest.
Super, super powers, man.
So Vin Petrol is sitting there throwing sticks of dynamite into the water to just try and distract the megalodon.
Yeah.
Um, he fumbles one of them, goes to pick it back up, and in the best animation of the whole film, blows himself up.
No,
Uh,
wrong. I'm sorry. You
does
got
he
it
not?
wrong. The two girls hatch the plan of right when he's about to throw the dynamite, that's when we're going to lob a rock at him and he will fumble over and instead of throwing it, blow himself up.
I did not.
Oh,
I genuinely.
from fucking 400 feet. Managed to hit him pinpoint in the chest enough to distract the muscliest man in the whole film to fucking fall over.
I'll be quite honest with you. I think it was like a traumatic event. You know how like you repress memories.
Yeah, yeah.
I genuinely think that's what happened. I was writing notes this whole time, and my mind went, "You know what, mate? If we're gonna do this, you're gonna have to go someplace else for like literally 10 seconds,
Yeah.
just so you don't remember it all."
I wasn't writing notes at this point because I was enthralled in the action.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad at least one of us did, I guess. But so he gets gets a rock thrown at him. I wondered how he dropped it. Actually, I was like, "Wait, what?"
It's the
But
funniest death I've ever seen on a film. It's fucking hilarious.
I was gonna say I'm gonna have to watch that back, but I don't know if I can. He gets hit with a rock, drops the dynamite, goes to pick it back up and throw it, blows up,
Oh
and then
god.
the angriest little man I've ever seen in the world. I can't even remember how he dies. How does he die?
I can't remember. I don't even think he does. I think
Does he just disappear in the film? I can't remember.
I can't. That's the one thing I think I've lost out of this film is what the fuck happened to that dude. Yeah.
I can't even remember what happened to him. Like the most forgettable man in cinema, apart from when he's like, "Heh heh, I said something evil." Like literally, like some sort of weird villain.
It's a challenge to be the most forgettable character in the most forgettable film.
I mean, holy shit, he did well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, oh yeah, so that line where she was like, "I'd rather take my chances with her," and she's like, "Excuse me, bitch," or whatever. The sh- the megalodon fucking jumps out of the water
Oh
and
god.
bites the villain woman and like eats her, and like it roars. I swear to God, it roared like a bear. It was like, roar, roar. And you're like, what? And it's like crunching its way through like it's a goddamn Doritos commercial from the 90s or some shit. Jumps through, grabs her out of the water, eats her, and then they hatch a plan. They're like, we can't. For some reason, they're like, if we don't kill this shark now,
You got,
like,
no man, you can't brush over this death as quickly as you have, right? That shark leaped 30 feet in the air, over
yeah,
the two girls on the beach to
in slow mo.
standing, if you remember correctly, up on a ledge,
Yeah.
eats her, and somehow turns around in midair and fucking flops back in the lake. How the fuck does it turn around? How does it get back in the water? They're not standing on a fucking bit of sand that bridges two bits of water, you know? He's leaped out of the water and gone back again without doing any harm to the two girls in the way. And all that's left is two of the most hilarious fucking prosthetic stumps with feet.
Exactly, yeah. That's the bit I absolutely loved as well when they were looking at that going, oh, two legs with boots.
Yeah,
You were like, what?
this megalodon is superhuman. Well, it's not superhuman, you know. It's has super abilities. Um, it's now definitely not 16 feet long, 60 meters long. It's definitely smaller because you fucking see it.
It's like a
But,
little Mako shark. It's like, oh, it's
but
adorable.
I would say this is probably my only plus point. this is the only time they use slow mo where it mattered. It worked in that point because it gave
Yeah.
some kind of understanding of the size and length of this beast.
Think if anyone who's listened to this and has got this far, God help you, is trying to picture what this bit looked like. You know the famous iconic image of Free Willy, where Free Willy's jumping over the
Yes,
kid's head.
genius.
Picture that in slow mo with terrible CGI and a shark instead of that, and the shark's asshole is like grazing the girl's heads as it flies by.
And there's no water
Um,
on the other side of where it's jumping to.
yeah, it's just land, but
Yeah,
it somehow lands back in the water.
yeah,
So they decide we need to get out of here. It's like we can't get out of here, and it's like, well, if we don't kill this thing, it'll find somewhere else to eat people. And you're like, where? Where's it gonna go?
yeah. Well, apparently it can fucking leap from one ocean to the next by the looks of it. But
I honestly wouldn't have been surprised if at one point it stood on its back two fins and fucking ran into the forest. Um,
what was
so yeah, the,
what was the name of that cartoon when we were kids? George. It was on Channel 4. It was fucking fish. All it was like a noir detective show for kids,
oh,
and it was all based in the ocean. And it was
I
George
know it.
Shark. His name was George, and I can't fucking remember what it's called. That's gonna kill me. We can cut all this
Oh.
shit out, but I had to.
No, we're keeping this in.
Yeah,
Like if anyone knows what that is, we're not going to research it.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
just going to get used to messages. And so at this point, they're like, yeah, if we don't do this, people are going to die. And then she's like, I'm going to bait myself out. And she's like, yeah, I've got the dynamite. And you're like, all right, whatever. Who cares who dies at this point? And then the protagonist is like, no, I've got a cut on my leg. It'll smell me from a mile off. I'll do it. I'll be the bait.
Yeah.
And then she gets in the water. And do you want to read this quote out? Because I know you've written this quote down as well.
This. Um, I need to get it right though. Hold on. I had it written down, and like it would do it a disservice if I didn't say. That's it. You've had enough. You've had enough of junk food. Now you want gourmet.
Dear
Oh
God.
my god!
Is she talking like Weatherspoon's gourmet burger, or is she talking like actual gourmet restaurant here? Because that's a distinction we need to work
She's
out.
also vain as fuck. I mean, like, I mean,
Yeah.
she's already
You've had
done
shit food till now. Mike was one of them.
yeah, Mike's a pretty guy. I'd call him
Yeah,
gourmet. If I was a shark,
yeah. Mike, like she was like, I kind of like Mike as well. And then like she's just said that to Tia, like out loud,
I'd
so Tia can hear it. Tia's sister was one of those junk food, apparently.
calling my sister ugly.
Yeah, it's like you've had junk food. Yeah, I'm talking about your sister who was junk. She was trash. Like I'm the best in the goddamn water. I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
I mean, it's true, but
Fucking hell. Oh, and then the ending. Holy shit.
right,
Not the ending, not the ending. How they quote kill the shark.
dramatic final sequence. Yeah, finale. Yeah. Oh my god. So there's one stick of dynamite, and the idea is that Jill is going to duck at the very precise moment that Tia lobs this dynamite into the shark's mouth. Now, like that's a big ode to Jaws. I'll give them that. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Smile, you son of a.
yeah, I mean, this is fucking spectacular stuff. I mean, you have to be pretty pinpointing your timing and your accuracy, which we know they are because they lobbed a stone at Vin Petrol from 400
Yeah.
feet in Bale. It's a fucking good throw. But they do themselves both down by going, oh, I can't do it because I have a girly throw. And then Tia on the side of the fucking lakes going, yeah, but so do I.
I was waiting for that as well because I love that line. He's like, I throw like a girl, so do I. You're like,
This.
oh,
Why are you giving it to me? Um, So anyway, yeah. So Jill is sitting in the water, obviously tempting Mr. Meg into chomping away at her, whilst Tia is trying to fucking light the fuse to this dynamite, which takes about 10 minutes. And all the time that she's trying to do it, on the camera, you cannot see the fuse trying to be lit. All you can see is her tits. It's fucking brilliant. The guy in the camera is just like, nah, better things to look at.
director's like, Closer.
Keep it on her tits. Keep it on her
Cl-
tits.
closer. Closer. It's like,
Stay,
"What?"
stay, stay. And move.
That should do it for today.
Fuse.
That's a wrap.
And
For anyone
yeah,
not getting the joke, we are insinuating that he was masturbating as that shot was happening.
yeah. And
So, so yeah, she eventually gets it lit, and then what happens?
yeah, with her pinpoint dodgy aim and accuracy, she manages to scream, "Duck Jill!" and lobs it straight into the shark's mouth. And somehow, Jill, being 2 feet away from the shark, gets blown up and doesn't have any damage on her whatsoever.
Yeah,
But
none.
it's okay though,
It,
'cause it killed Meg.
I mean, this is the thing. The throw, like, it's half how good her throw was, and it is half the shark going, "Yeah, I'll have that," and jumping up to it and eating it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, which, to be honest, this whole film is an allegory for greed. Um,
But do you not think the moment where the shark eats it, like, if the shark was a shark and he's as big as he is, right, and somebody lobbed dynamite in there,
mhm.
it's not going to be one of those moments where he goes to go and eat something and then accidentally swallows a fly and starts choking on it. You know, it's like, oh God, what was that? Oh, better follow through on Jill, regardless. So, I mean, it would be by the point that he's going over with his mouth open, it would be fucking hard to miss her. So, like, I don't
I,
understand how he doesn't eat Jill at the same time.
I mean, he must have just gone, "Do you know what? I'll have that instead," and then blows up.
Yeah.
And then the
He's,
I don't,
he likes aperitifs more than he likes the main. I don't know.
yeah, apparently so. So he the film, God help us, ends in a way, and then it goes to this weird
No, look,
sequence.
the film should definitely have fucking just stopped there. Jill comes out of the water, gives Tina a hug, and goes, "We've done it! Yay!" I'm fine with that. I mean, as fucking awful as this film is, at least they ended or should have ended it at a sensible moment like that.
Yeah,
That
but
should
no,
be titles, but no.
they had this whole horrendous sequence at the end, which was all set up for A, sequel bait, and B, just so they could use this line. Bear in mind, this scene is about 5 minutes long.
Yep,
A girl is sitting there reading a book. Two guys are sitting in chairs. It cuts to this randomly. It doesn't
yep.
explain why.
And the girl, by the way, is when she's sitting there doing whatever she's doing. I can't remember. She's picking a rocks or something. It is the most cinematic shot they did in the whole film. It
Yeah,
actually looks really good.
yeah. You're like, "Hey, that's a decent shot."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and they held for the right length of time.
yeah. You're like, holy shit! Someone must have directed the very end of this film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So they had this shot, and then there's two guys sitting there in like sort of what do you call it? Festival style chairs, like sort of camping fishing chairs or whatever.
yeah.
And they're sitting there talking, and then the girl gets up randomly for no reason, gets up, gets a beer, and gives it to her who turns out to be her stepdad.
Mhm.
And the guy's like, "Oh, thanks, sweetie." And then like she goes and sits back down, and the other guy's like staring at her like, "Ugh." And you're like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Creepy hillbilly, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just some weird redneck, weird looking dude who clearly was a pedophile.
Yeah, and then many
Was
times in the following dialogue oversteps the mark.
Yeah, because he's like, "I cannot believe that that pretty girl came from your ugly bitch of a wife," and like all like to that effect. And you're like, "What the hell, bro?" And he's like, I gotta hit you." And he's like, "I'm saying," he's like, "And I'm gonna hit you."
It's about 7 times where he's like, "Yeah, but really? She's really pretty, and your wife is really fucking ugly."
Yeah,
Those blatant effects. And then he's like, "Yeah, but chuckle, chuckle, I'm gonna punch you, man."
yeah. And you're like, "Wait, what?" And then it was all a setup so that he could say this line. He's like, "Yeah, but sometimes the what was it?
Oh, fuck, man.
Oh, the line was something to the effect of sometimes even the ugliest of things have offspring."
That,
And then
yeah, that's about it. Nailed on the head.
yeah, and then a shark, sorry, a megalodon, jumps out of the water from the side of the shot and eats them both out of the chair. The chairs are still there.
Yeah,
Eats them both out of the chair, which is impressive.
perfectly, without moving the chairs.
yeah, in one swoop gets them both and then jumps back in the water, and then the credits, which are how long, Temmy?
Well, again, you can tell that they've tried to emulate a little bit of Jaws here because they put Finn, as you would do with any shark film, up as to signal the end of the movie. But
I didn't
the
even know that
following
happened.
titles are, this is not a joke. The following titles are over 12 minutes long.
12-minute credits, for God's sake.
To put that into
And
perspective, by the way, the whole
and they're
film,
slowed down.
the whole film is 62 minutes long. 12 of those are the end credits. Four and a half of them are the opening credits. It now boils down to being a 45-minute film. We together talking about this have spoken for an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, our discussion of the film is longer than the film. I mean, if that doesn't tell you, I mean, if this was a classic, you'd be going, yeah, fair enough, man. But like, holy shit.
Am I right in saying that in order to class it as a feature film, it needs to be over an hour long? So that's what's happened. Is they've gone, oh fuck, we've only got 45 minutes of film here. How the hell are we going to drag this out? And
We could make the credits 6 minutes. Oh, but that's not enough. We could slow it down to 50% speed and it'll be 12 minutes. Perfect.
yep, that'll
Do it.
do.
Like, it is literally slowed down as well. The credits are literally slowed down. You're watching it going, what the hell? Why are the credits looking so like a PowerPoint presentation instead of rolling credits? And it is literally just that slowed down.
Yeah, I did my taxes while I was waiting for that.
I wish I had done your taxes instead of
Yeah, well, it's
doing that shit.
a perfect moment. But I was like, well, I'm as bored as I'll ever get, so I'll just do these now and cheer me up.
I hated the film, but I came out as a certified tax accredited accountant. So
Exactly, yeah. Just
should
fire.
really send him a thank you note.
Yeah, that's how it ends. I mean, I'm. Oh God, what did we do this for? Like, that's genuinely an hour I'm never getting back in my life. Oh
Right.
God.
Well, as bad as the movie was, at least it gave us some laughs, I guess. Um,
Given the current situation and the fact that we are both stuck in our houses under quarantine, I mean, this is the perfect time to be watching the worst movie because I don't know about you,
oh yeah,
but I've gone through everything on Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus. I've completed it, mate. Completed it.
completed it, mate. Football manager,
So
completed it, mate.
I started at the bottom, working my way up to the top now instead.
Oh my god, it's not surprising.
It was a blast, really. It was
Yeah,
a hell of a fun watching it because it's comically bad, and there's never a moment within it that I didn't find myself just laughing at how raucously shit it was.
10 out of 10.
10 for quality.
So to wrap things up here, I'm not sure what the next episode is going to be about, but I'm sure we'll come up with something. If anyone wants to check out Temmy's professional sort of life, do you want to give us some shout outs to your various works and companies and whatnot?
Yeah, so I run a small videography company called On Red Productions. We do everything from kind of music videos to events to interviews, and we've been lucky enough to have a little bit of support from you as well. So we get to collaborate with some cool people. Yeah, so it's blast. If you ever want to check us out, it's just On Red Productions. So www.onredproductions.com. Otherwise, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Check us out.
Cool. All right. Thank you. And yeah, basically, you can check Temmy out on those websites that he's listed and those various social medias. And that is pretty much all from me, Liam, and from Temmy.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me again.
No worries.